Officer Ray Dempsey strutted through the dimly lit marina parking lot like he owned the place. His badge glimmered under the buzzing streetlight, and the smirk on his face said he knew exactly how untouchable he thought he was. Inside a black pickup, two men sat quietly, their eyes sharp, their posture disciplined. They weren't just any men. They were United States NavySEALs. Jack Riker and Logan Hayes had returned from a classified mission overseas less than 48 hours ago. They came here to decompress, to fish, to be invisible. But Dempsey saw something else, an opportunity. He sauntered over, wrapped his flashlight on the driver's side window. "Step out of the vehicle," he barked. Jack frowned. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Problem is you're trespassing on private property. And from where I'm standing, it looks like possession of stolen gear." Dempsey's eyes flicked to the military duffel in the back seat. "That's issued equipment," Logan said calmly. Dempsey's grin widened. "Not anymore, it isn't." Within minutes, both SEALs were face down on the pavement, cuffed like common criminals. Dempsey called him back up, spinning a story about armed suspects resisting arrest. His fellow officers didn't question it. They never did. As Jack was shoved into the back of the cruiser, he locked eyes with Logan. Neither spoke, but their looks said everything. Stay calm. This isn't over. They knew how to survive ambushes. They just never expected one to come from someone wearing the same flag on his shoulder. The holding cell at Bayview County Jail smelled of rust, bleach, and regret. Jack Riker sat on the cold bench, elbows on his knees, while Logan Hayes paced like a caged panther. Hours had crawled by, yet no one had taken their statements, offered a lawyer, or even explained the charges. "Dempsey's setting us up," Logan muttered, voice low. "You saw how he looked at the gear." Jack nodded slowly. "He wants the credit, or the cash. Maybe both." Just then, the door creaked open. Officer Ray Dempsey stepped in, twirling their confiscated military IDs in his hand. He wore that same arrogant smirk. "You boys like pretending to be heroes, ho," he sneered. "Too bad stolen valor carries real time in this county." Jack's jaw tightened. "That's federal property. You're out of your depth." Dempsey leaned close, his breath sour with coffee and ego. "No, you're out of mine. The judge will see two armed thugs trespassing on private land. My word, your cuffs. Easy win." He turned on his heel and left, locking the door behind him. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Logan sat down beside Jack, voice calm but eyes blazing. "We've survived worse. Jungle ambushes, desert firestorms. This is just paperwork with bars." Jack gave a thin smile. Paperwork doesn't usually carry guns. Neither man showed fear, but both knew the truth. If they were convicted, their careers and their lives would be over. And if their command didn't know where they were yet, someone would have to change that. Admiral Thomas Greer stopped at the council table, set down a leather briefcase, and removed his white glove with a kind of precision only decades of command can teach. The silence in the Bayview County Courthouse was so sharp it hummed. Judge Marla Jennings cleared her throat. "Sir, may I ask who you are?" Greer's gaze didn't waver. "I am Admiral Thomas Greer, commanding officer of the United States Navy SEAL Special Warfare Division. The two men in custody are under my direct command." Gasps whispered through the gallery. Officer Ray Dempsey tried to recover his swagger. "Your Honor, with all due respect, this is a civilian matter." "Not anymore," Greer cut in, voice like cold steel. "These men were on authorized federal duty less than 48 hours ago. Their equipment is government property. You, Officer Dempsey, illegally seized it. You also failed to notify federal authorities as required under Title 10 of the United States Code." Dempsey's mouth opened, then closed. Greer continued, sliding a folder toward the judge. "Here are their classified deployment orders, and here is a directive from the Department of Defense confirming their status. This court has no jurisdiction over them." Judge Jennings skimmed the documents, her eyebrows rising with each page. The prosecutor leaned over to glance, then quietly set his pen down. Greer finally turned his eyes on Dempsey. "And if you've tampered with or sold any of their gear, I suggest you call a lawyer of your own." The room went dead still. Dempsey's confidence drained like water from a cracked glass. The Admiral hadn't raised his voice once, and somehow He had just flipped the entire trial upside down. Judge Marla Jennings leaned back in her chair, tapping the folder Admiral Thomas Greer had given her. The weight of its contents was obvious, even to the spectators who couldn't see inside. "Given the documentation provided," she said firmly, "and the clear violation of federal protocol, this court has no grounds to hold Jack Riker or Logan Hayes. They are hereby released immediately and without charges." A collective gasp swept through the Bayview County Courthouse. Officer Ray Dempsey shot to his feet. "Your Honor, this..." Judge Jennings interrupted. "Is over. Bailiff, remove their restraints." And Officer Dempsey, her eyes narrowed. "Stay right where you are. You are under investigation for unlawful arrest, falsifying a police report, and possible theft of federal property." Dempsey's face drained of color. The bailiff unlocked the SEAL's cuffs. Jack flexed his wrists, while Logan gave a single nod to Greer, the only outward sign of gratitude either man showed. Greer gathered his briefcase, then turned to Dempsey with quiet finality. "You tried to cage warriors you couldn't even begin to understand. Remember this moment. Officer, the Navy remembers its own." He led Jack and Logan toward the exit, the crowd parting around them like a tide. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds as they stepped onto the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed, but Greer ignored them. "Welcome back, gentlemen," he said simply. "Let's go home." And just like that, the SEALs walked free, leaving Dempsey behind to face the full force of the very justice system he thought he controlled. For Jack and Logan, the mission was never about revenge. It was about honor, and they had it back. At Naval Station Norfolk, the command center hummed quietly under the soft glow of monitors. Admiral Thomas Greer was reviewing mission debriefs when his secure phone buzzed. It rarely rang, and never without reason. "Greer," he answered. A tight, nervous voice came through. "So, it's Chief Elena Brooks from the Special Warfare Office. We just received an alert from civilian custody logs. Jack Riker and Logan Hayes have been arrested. Local police, Bayview County Jail." Greer's pen froze in his hand. "On what charges?" "They are being held as suspected trespassers, possibly theft of government property." "Sir, it makes no sense." "No," Greer said flatly. "It doesn't." He stood up, his chair rolling silently back. The men they were talking about weren't just names on a roster. They were decorated United States Navy SEALs, warriors he had personally sent into fire more times than he could count. "Clear my schedule," Greer ordered. "File a jurisdictional request and prep the legal team. I'm flying out tonight." Chief Brooks hesitated. "So, with respect, showing up in person is exactly what I intend to do." He hung up before she could protest. Within minutes, Greer was striding down the tarmac toward a waiting jet, his uniform immaculate, his face carved from stone. If a corrupt small-town cop thought he could cage two of his SEALs, he was about to learn how quickly the entire weight of the Navy could crash down on him. Officer Ray Dempsey strutted into the cramped Bayview County Courthouse like a man walking onto his victory stage. His uniform was pressed, his grin polished for the local reporters waiting by the door. Today, he would cement his reputation as a man who took down two so-called United States Navy SEALs. Jack Riker and Logan Hayes were marching wearing orange jumpsuits, wrist-chained. They moved quietly, but their eyes scanned the room like they were back on a mission, calculating exits, threats, angles. Judge Marla Jennings entered, her gavel cracking through the air. "Court is now in session." Dempsey launched into his statement like he'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror. "Your Honor, these men were found trespassing on restricted property, in possession of stolen federal gear. They resisted arrest." "That's a lie," Logan said sharply, but the bailiff shot him a warning glare. Jack stayed silent, watching Dempsey's confidence swell. Every word out of the cop's mouth was dripping with false authority. The prosecutor nodded along lazily, clearly in on the setup. It was going exactly as Dempsey planned, until the heavy wooden doors at the back of the courtroom burst open. Every head turned. A man in full dress blue strode in, the silver stars on his shoulders gleaming like cold fire. Admiral Thomas Greer didn't look left or right as he walked straight down the center aisle, the air in the room shifting with every step. Whispers rippled through the gallery. Even Judge Jennings blinked in surprise. Dempsey's smirk faltered for the first time. because when an admiral walks into a courtroom unannounced, something big is about to break.